Oh, I've been looking forward to this one. So, the Sixth Doctor, over the past year, has been engaged in a massive mini-arc from Big Finish Productions, where the Sixth Doctor and Mel meets a new companion, Hebe Harrison, marine biologist, played by Ruth Madeley. Now, this review of the latest set, Purity Unleashed, will contain spoilers for the ending of the last box set, Purity Undreamed, because this is one long story, and Purity Undreamed ended on one hell of a cliffhanger that kicks off the events of Purity Unleashed. If you don't want to know anything about Purity Undreamed, then step away now. I'll see you folks later. But for those of you who already know how it ends or don't care about spoilers, let's proceed. So, Purity Undreamed focused on the Sixth Doctor, Mel and Hebe, meeting a professor in Sheffield called Professor Patricia McBride, played by Imogen Stubbs. And we learn over the course of the box set that she is deeply reactionary and is actually a eugenicist, and she considers the disabilities of people like Hebe to be a blight on humanity. And at the end of Purity Undreamed, in Chronomancer by Robert Valentine, she manages to get access to a time-travelling sophisticated suit of armour and goes back in time and somehow erases Hebe Harrison and other disabled people from existence. The Sixth Doctor and Mel decide to go back in time to try and figure out what on earth has happened to their friend and who is responsible. Basically, it's what if the Doctor and Mel were fighting Jordan Peterson with a time travel suit, which leads us to Purity Unleashed. However, the first story of Purity Unleashed is called Broadway Belongs to Me by Matthew Sweet, and Broadway Belongs to Me, for all intents and purposes, has nothing to do with the overarching Dr. Mel and Hebe story arc. It has a little bit of a mention, oh, there's some weird stuff happening in 1930s New York. Oh, there's fascists on the streets of New York. Why are there Nazis here? Oh no, Mel, it turns out that was just something America decided to dabble in the 1930s. Oh boy, time has not gone wibbly. This is just American history. They're also trying to figure out what the time distortion is in 1930s New York, to try and figure out what happened to Hebe. And there, they end up encountering what appears to be doppelgangers of themselves, including Melanie Bush, who has become a Hot Shoes Broadway star for a 1930s fascist musical, and they're in the audience watching the horror unfold. Let's play a clip from Broadway Belongs to Me.
What do you think of the uniform?
Oh, Beth, you look a picture. Black and white suits you so, and your hair.
Do pigtails
Incredible.
come
She looks
Mary
exactly
Jane?
like me, Doctor. Exactly. What is she? A double? A robot?
I'm not sure, Mel. Whatever she is, she's not my idea of a good night out.
Doing what's right for America.
The new America. I think I'm gonna be
It's
sick.
coming, that new country. I can almost see it, touch it.
It's easy when you try, ain't it?
What do you see?
A clean world with ham and eggs for everyone, and a reformed banking system. No landlord will ever put us out on the street on Christmas Eve, and we'll never eat dinner at the Automat again.
We won't eat dinner at the Automat, Beth?
No, because we'll be free. Imagine it. The statutes and the laws will be all American. The names on the stores will be all American. And anything not at all American will be gone, gone, gone.
Words kind of fail me when it comes to describing Broadway Belongs to Me. Matthew Sweet's script is utterly bonkers. It goes in some incredibly fun and wacky directions. Wacky is absolutely the word I would use to describe this, where you've got an assortment of villains who are trying to put together a production of, you know, an old-time Hot Shoes musical in the 1930s for reasons that are so strange, and their overarching like goal and their overarching goal and their motivation is so funny. I was in like fits of laughter throughout listening to this 2-part story by Matthew Sweet. It's so fun, it's so camp, and I adore the fact that this is the first like Mel production with Bonnie Langford that comes out around the time of her announcement returning to Doctor Who. Oh, who's this Mel figure? Oh, it turns out she's some 1930s show tune dancer doing a fascist musical in the 30s. It, like I said, it has nothing to do with the Hebe narrative other than some cursory like, oh, okay, is Hebe here? Is he? What's happening with the timeline? Like, a few things here. There is, however, a really clever plot device which ties the Doctor and Mel to this location. They have to see this story through because of timey-wimey stuff. They saw their doppelgangers, so they have to be here to make the story happen, which is why they don't just immediately leave the show tunes and go and rescue Hebe. They have to stay here, which, you know what? As far as contrived story beats go to make the story happen, that's one of the more imaginative and fun ones, and the story does have a lot of fun with the doppelganger Doctor and the doppelganger Mel. The musical sequences done by Howard Carter are joyous and weird and offbeat. It's very interesting, and the fact that this is all accomplished through audio, but I still got the real sense of mood and place and atmosphere just through the full cast audio drama format, is really, really impressive. So the production of the show is called Behold America, and it's basically some weird, like, it's a weird precursor to QAnon. Like, oh, Abraham Lincoln was actually killed because he was trying to reform the American banking system to help people, and like, but that's just communicated through song, and Bonnie Langford sings it in ye olde American accent. Like, hell yeah, sign me up. And the performances are terrific. You've got Lydia Puty, who is like this old veteran of the stage and screen who is trying to coach all of the dancers, played by Sophie Louise Dam. You've got Julian Arnston, played by Graham Vick, who is the guy who is bankrolling the production and he needs it to be a success, otherwise he's out of a job, he's out of this town forever. And how all of these characters like converge to a really offbeat and almost Douglas Adams-esque finale it's brilliant. It's superb. It's so good. But like I said, it's got very little to do with the Hebe story arc. But Jacqueline Rayner, who is the producer of these sets, and almost like a showrunner equivalent for this mini arc, argues that, yes, it has nothing to do with what's going on with Hebe, but it's a really good palate cleanser. It's a really good way to, like, ease the audience in, and, like, this is a laugh before things get very, very dark. And things do get very, very dark very, very quickly with Purification by Chris Chapman, where the Doctor and Mel follow the trail to 1910s New Zealand, and the Terra Nova expedition is about to leave. Now, the Terra Nova expedition was a group of men from New Zealand who went to the South Pole for an expedition. However, none of them returned. Their bodies were found frozen. They all died on the adventure. They all died on the trip, sadly. However, Patricia is also in this time period with the time suit and is trying to manipulate events to make sure that one of the people who was meant to be on the Terra Nova does not get on that boat, does not go on the adventure, for reasons which gradually unfold over a devastating 2-part story. But first, before I get too ahead of myself, let's play a clip from Purification.
You look fairly intense.
I feel fairly intense. I'm attempting to trace a chronomatic time signature, a ribbon of disrupted vortex energy about as minuscule as a fishing line dropped into an ocean. It is not easy.
So, there is still hope?
There is always hope.
Do you think Hebe knew what was happening to her when it happened?
I'm afraid she never knew anything. She was never anywhere to begin with. Thanks to whoever is changing history.
But you think we can stop them?
I'll always believe that. Maybe you can help me.
Gladly.
Do you see that blue and yellow lever, the far side of the console?
This one?
Pull it.
Wow! That whole wall can just slide out, can it?
Don't notice the wall. Notice what's behind it.
It's... What is it? A big round space telly?
That is the time-space visualizer.
It's a bit retro, isn't it? I've got a bigger screen at home.
Mel, please.
Sorry.
I tend to keep it mothballed to avoid spoiling the ending.
You don't think that might be a bit helpful sometimes?
It risks creating a paradox. Even a hint of future knowledge can be dangerous. But under the circumstances, I think I must risk it. The time-space visualizer may solve a mystery for us today.
Purification follows the Doctor and Mel trying to follow the life that Patricia McBride is trying to influence and cultivate over the 20th century to essentially have it so that disabled people no longer exist. Like I said, we're dealing with some sort of weird Jordan Peterson allegory here. So essentially, in a TLDR sense, Patricia wanted to make sure that somebody on the Terra Nova ship did not die, so that their family and their children and their children's children would start the domino effect that would result in in scientific discoveries and medical discoveries that would essentially create a eugenicist wet dream future. The Doctor is naturally horrified by the whole thing, but the way that the story goes out of its way to disprove or dispel the notion of great man theory, which is, one person, history is made up of these big individuals who did big actions and big changes, and that's what history revolves around. Whereas the refutation of that is almost like the butterfly effect. One person surviving is able to have massive influence and massive changes to the world around them because life is precious and one person can make all of the difference just by existing and being there. Which is, of course, the big defense as to why the Doctor and Mel want to rescue Hebe so much as well. It's an argument that's so passionately well put throughout the meta text as well, of just the general box sets as well, overseen by Jacqueline Rayner, and also in the script of Purification by Chris Chapman. It's got some shades of years and years, as this domino effect ultimately leads to the formation of a almost fascist-like political party in the UK, which is wanting to try and create a perfect and better future with perfect and better people. Better, of course, being a subjective term here. And it's a really interesting story, and you just don't know where it's going next, as the fact that the fact that Patricia has this time travel technology that will carve out this path in history to her design means that by the virtue of the structure, she's going to be one step ahead of the Doctor and Mel, and they can only respond to what she's doing, which results in a really snappy and really pacey two-parter, and it goes in really unpredictable directions. And the way that the Doctor ultimately tries to resolve the issue at the end is really inspired and interesting. The confrontation at the end when they figure out, mild spoilers, but of course they find out that it is Patricia that's doing this using the time travel suit. The way that they try and deal with this and try and reason with her and try and work around her was really inspired and interesting. And it's where I think that this box set finds its most effective scenes and its most effective moments, and its mission statement generally. You do also have, as the finale of this, Time Burst by Ian Potter. I can't talk too much about this because Purification and Time Burst kind of lead in one to the other. It's essentially a full-blown two-parter here, and the ramifications of Purification lead into Time Burst. So to talk about Time Burst in depth means that you'd need me to spoil Purification, which I will not do, but I will play just for fun a spoiler-free clip from Time Burst.
Oh, that smell!
Yeah, sulphur from the factories. Maybe a hint of tannery. I think we've been unlucky with the winds.
So this is Old Sheffield?
Not strictly, Mel, no. This is Neep's End in the Loxley Valley. Sheffield's officially still a town about a mile off that way. It'll be a few years before the city swallows all this.
Well, you wouldn't know. It's like a city already. All terraces and chimneys.
Yes, and quite recently built.
Go on. Sherlock Holmes me. How can you tell?
Oh, brick size, soot deposits. You develop a nose. And these blocks here are a recent innovation. Back-to-back housing. See? No front doors, right along the row.
So how do people get in?
There'll be doorways down those alleys. They're built around a shared central court. Oh, must be nearly dusk. We better see what we can learn before we're working by gaslight. Oh, and watch your step, Mel. Don't want to spoil your shoes.
So it's 1860s Sheffield. The Doctor and Mel are trying to outmaneuver Patricia by trying to figure out the past of Hebe Harrison, trying to figure out her lineage, her history, and trying to outmaneuver Patricia through those means. Like I said, I can't talk too much about Time Burst in specifics in terms of the actual plot, but I will say that it does feel like a natural evolution of the reactionary, rebuttal that they're trying to give to Patricia's ideology and to the world that she's trying to create, where it's being created quite clearly out of spite. It's not being created in lieu of trying to make the world a better place. And when we talk about the Industrial Revolution and the type of factories and the union busting that was done in Sheffield in the 19th century, and what Patricia is trying to do in that time period, it's kind of clear that she couldn't really care less about the working class. She couldn't really care less about those who are downtrodden or those on the pecking order. She just wants to try and form the world in an image that she deems better without really caring about anybody. And once again, it's sort of like the Jordan Peterson allegory. He'll talk about he will talk about being progressive. He'll talk about not hating certain groups of people, but you kind of cut through the rhetoric and you kind of cut through the bullshit, and you realize that he just doesn't really give a shit about anybody, to be honest. And that's the type of person who has got access to time travel technology that may even outsmart the Doctor and be able to outwit the Doctor. It's got some really cool confrontations, particularly in part 2 of the story, and it leads to another cliffhanger. We're going for a 4-part story here. We have another box set in this story. This it feels like Time Burst, while well written, well thought out, with some great local history for Sheffield in the 19th century, part disaster movie as well, if you know your history as well, for 1864 Sheffield. It does feel like we're setting up another round. It doesn't feel like we're leading to a climax here, which, without getting into specifics and getting into spoilers, means that the box set does kind of fizzle a little bit. Still really strong stuff, but it feels like it's building to a conclusion, and oh wait, we've got some more innings to play. That's kind of just the nature of the format. I didn't know that going in. Just kind of be aware of it. I think if I'd known beforehand that there was more of the story that was moving forward, I might have not reacted the way I did, which is why I'm kind of sharing that with you now. Still, Purity Unleashed is a great continuation of the story. There is no massive, holy shit, what on earth is about to happen that we got in Purity Undreamed. I still think that Waterworlds is the most consistent, strong box set of the lot, but in terms of a interesting, long-form story that ideologically tests the Sixth Doctor and really shows what he's made of in terms of mental fortitude and how willing he is to stick to his principles, and also just how the story argues against great man theory, particularly in Purification, is really admirable. This was my most anticipated box set from Big Finish of 2023. I doubt it will make my top 3 when all is said and done at the end of the year, but it is still a really strong continuation. I really enjoyed it. I love what it says. I love what it's going for. I want this story to continue sooner rather than later. When is the next box set coming out? So the next box set, which is currently untitled, comes out in August 2023, so only a couple of months' time. Thankfully, we don't have too long a wait, because, my god, the wait between Purity Undreamed and Purity Unleashed was a nightmare. That cliffhanger kills. This is a great continuation. And also just be aware that Broadway Belongs to Me is so off-kilter, so off the wall, but is such raucous good fun. I did not expect a story like this to be in this box set, but I'm so glad it's here.